Hello everyone, I'm so happy to be back talking with you today. I think that most of you are going to be able to look around at all of this fun stuff, especially this, and you are going to know the story for today. I am going to tell you about Noah's Ark. It is one of my favorite stories to tell, and I have a lot of stuff to go with it because it's just a cool story with a lot of details, and we can maybe use our imaginations a little bit by looking at these silly animals that I have here. And I thought it might help us to think about what it was really like for Noah to go through this. So, this is my friend Noah. Now, Noah lived on earth at a time that was really tough. See, he was the last man in the last family of people who believed in God still. Everyone else had forgotten. The world had turned into a very sassy place. People were being sinful and mean and violent, and it was getting worse and worse. Now, God felt very sad about this because when he created the world and Adam and Eve, remember, everything was perfect until Adam and Eve had their first sin that we talked about last week. Remember the snake in the garden? And so the world just got yuckier and yuckier. And God came to Noah one day and said, Noah, I am going to clean the earth. I'm going to start over. And what I want you to do is I want you to build a very, very, very big boat called an ark. And your family and 2 of every kind of animal need to get on that ark. And I am going to keep you safe while I fill the world with water and clean it and wipe it free of all the sin that has gotten onto it. So Noah, being a man who loved and trusted God, he listened. And Noah spent years and years building this ark. He did just what God said. He built this huge, huge boat, and he got it all ready to go. And let's remember, friends, that Noah did not have tools that plug in like we do. He did not have drills and saws and anything like that. All he had was a hammer. He had to do all this work like that. So it took a super long time, and he was an old man. So I can't even imagine what it was like for him. But this is what he did because God told him to do it. So he got the ark ready, and the animals came, and it was time to fill the ark. He also put a lot of food on the ark for his family and for those animals. Now this is my toy ark, which I love. It's one of my favorite things in my classroom. And I'm going to show you what's inside. So we have a mom and dad giraffe, mom and dad sheep, mom and dad pigs, bunnies, ducks, and this is always up for debate, but we call these horses, and some of the kids want them to be goats or donkeys, but they're for sure something very important. So Noah here, he had this boat ready to go, and I'm going to open up this door, and now we can only imagine what this was like for these animals to start coming. He had to include a lot of animals in this. He had to have the big animals. He had to have the tiniest of animals and bugs and birds that flew and reptiles. And I just can't picture what this was like to fill this boat this way. But they did it. And God makes all these things happen because this is what he wanted. So I like to always picture that these animals were lining up because you know how teachers like when kids line up in an orderly fashion to get wherever we're going. It makes us real happy. Well, I like to picture that the animals were lined up too to get on the boat. I don't really know. But the animals came. Oops, I'm sorry, Noah. The animals came. Here comes the pigs. And then we have the sheep. Clip, clop, clip, clop, clip, clop. Bah, 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 bah. Ooh, think of the noises. And the ducks. Quack, 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 quack. Now, I am not sure what sound a giraffe makes, but I'm certain its hooves made a clip-clop sound. Now look, they have to duck. They're very tall. And our horse, goat, mule. They have to get on there. I'm assuming that this took a very long time to get all of these animals 2 by 2 onto the boat. Oh, and our bunnies hop, 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 hop on board. So when all the animals got onto the boat and Noah and his family got into the boat, then God closed the giant door. Boom. They're inside the ark, all cozy, and as soon as that door closed, the rain started to fall. Drip, 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 drip. So not only did the rain fall from the sky, but God also caused the rain, or the water actually, to come up from under the ground too. So that's why so much water came so quickly. For 40 days and 40 nights the rain fell, and water came up from inside the ground, and the ark was floating higher and higher and higher on top of that water. Safe and sound inside that boat was Noah and his family and all of the animals. And now this really sad thing to think about with this story is that if you were not on the ark, if you were not someone who loved and trusted God, which Noah and his family were the only ones, then you died in the flood. The people who did not believe, they died in the flood. All of the other animals, the trees, everything else were wiped out. God was starting all over with this flood. And I mean all over. Everything was gone. So Noah stayed on the boat, and even after the rain stopped, they had to keep on the boat, of course, because the water is covering the whole earth. Even the mountains were covered. So as time went on, God caused a wind to blow across the world to help dry things out. And I like to think of it as probably a wind that was very strong, like, and it blew the water and helped to dry things out, just like it does when we have wind and sun here. So as the earth dried, the boat went down, 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 until finally it rested on dry ground on top of a mountain. And when it was time, Noah and all the animals came out of the ark. So they went out onto dry ground. And the first thing Noah did was thank God for keeping his family safe, for keeping those animals safe, for keeping his promise to protect them during this great flood. Noah recognized that God had really come through for them. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and no one knew how awesome that was. So he thanked him right away. And now Noah's job was to go out into all the earth. God said, I need you and your family to go and fill the earth up again. And that's what the animals had to do too. That's why, of course, they had 2 animals of each kind so they could go and make families together. And Noah, he had to start all over. And I think when he got off the boat, he was so excited to be on dry ground. But I wonder too if it felt a little bit like a big job. The whole earth was bare, and he was with his family in charge of filling it back up again. So it must have been a lot of thoughts for Noah to have. And at the end of the story, this is probably the most famous part of the story, we hear in the Bible that God put a rainbow in the sky, and that was to assure people, Noah and all of us still today, that he will never flood the earth like that again. So every time you see a rainbow after a storm, or after even just a little bit of rain on a sunny day, I want you to think that thought to yourself. God keeps his promises. If he says it, he does it. He always does what he says. I have one more color to add to my rainbow. And then it'll be all finished. And I think that it would be really great if you made a rainbow too. And you could hang it up in your window or somewhere that other people can see it. And it's a good way to comfort people and to remind them that God keeps his promises. Well, I hope you have a really great week ahead and that you're safe and healthy and blessed. And I will talk to you again next week. Goodbye.